Hey everyone, in this video we're going to look at how to actually query our GraphQL endpoint from the front-end perspective. And we're going to start off in this video doing the simplest thing possible, and then in the next video we'll talk about using something like Apollo client. So in the project I have in front of me, I have a back and front folder here. And so also with all these GraphQL videos I'm doing, I have a GitHub repository associated with each video. And so the GitHub repository associated to this one is going to have all this for you. And so on the back end here, I have what we had in the last video, where we just have a schema like this, and we have resolvers like this, so exactly the same. And so I've deployed that, and just to double check this is working, I'm going to hit the playground endpoint here, and it all works, so that's good. So okay, we have this endpoint going. How can I query this, and what is the simplest, most vanilla way I can do it? Well, if you look at the HTML index.html file here, I got some styles and a div with loading. And if we were to actually refresh this, we have loading, and then it makes the GraphQL query and then gets that data and shows it in front of us here. So how are we doing that? Well, we can see that it is just a fetch call. Nothing super exotic here, just a normal fetch call. We're doing a post, I'm setting a header here, and I'm simply just putting some data into the body and stringifying it. So this is what you would normally do with a REST endpoint. This should all be familiar. And then I'm just getting the JSON out of it. And what I'm getting back is X, so X is the result, x.data.product, and I'm bringing out the name and price and just putting in the inner HTML. Okay, so this all looks normal. So let's look at what the URL and the data looks like for a GraphQL call. So this is my URL that I deployed with the serverless framework. And the data that I'm sending is an object, and it has either query or mutation properties on it. And so in this case, we're doing a query. And so the query has a value of a string, and that's all it is. So pretty straightforward, but of course, because we're doing hitting a GraphQL endpoint, this string is going to be actually a GraphQL query. So we're going to structure it in a very specific way. But at least from the fetch's perspective, what we're doing with the fetch, window.fetch is really normal. And we're simply just passing some data with a property of query and then some sort of string, which happens to be a GraphQL query. And so if we were to look at this again, it starts off loading as initial state. It goes ahead and gets the data. Let's actually throw a debugger in here just to step through it. So, so I run this, and then once the query came through, I can see that X gives me back something called data, and the data is products because that is the thing that I'm getting. That's the entity that I'm trying to get from my query right here, and the product is ID, name, and price, which I'm specifying right here. If I was to get rid of this thing, and I was to run this again, and I was to look at X, it would just give me name and price and would not give me the ID, because that is exactly what I asked for. So that's how you do a really simple GraphQL query with just normal vanilla JavaScript with window.fetch.